What an absolute honour it is for our little sanctuary to be part of such a phenomenal night in terms of the evolution of animal rights in Australia. We're so very, very excited to be here, and we're also very excited to work on pulling all this together, and so very excited that all of you are here. It really is just so amazing for us. Beck has almost given my line away, but I'm so very excited about this because prior to me being in Australia, I spent a decade in the United States where I was doing my animal advocacy with what we felt like was really some success. And I came out to Australia and I brought exactly the same equipment and videos and whatever it was out here to the streets, and every single response that we got was the same. Oh, it's not like that in Australia. Well, as Beck said, tonight we'll be seeing exactly what it is in Australia. Frankly, I think it's probably worse here, because what we see in the US now, of course, is that people who are committing atrocities within the food industry actually sometimes go to jail there. And I think we're still waiting for the first one to happen here in Australia. So I think that sums it all up there. Just before we go on to the film, though, I did just want to put our little perspective on where things are and how all of this hangs together. Obviously, what we're seeing tonight is exactly what happens to animals as they pass through this process. I want to talk a little bit more about the personal lives of these creatures, and I want to tell you a very short story from the farm. We had bought at the farm four and a half years ago now, a little boy called Sam, who was born to an Angus cow who was brought into the sanctuary. He was a lovely little boy. When he got to the age of 2.5, he started developing some problems. And it was a very, very serious health problem that he ended up, and there wasn't a lot that we could do, unfortunately, ultimately, to save him. Now, for about the last 3 months of his life, of course, he wasn't doing very well, but for the last 3 months of his life, he was a 3-year-old steer. This 3-year-old steer was bigger than his mother, he was 500 kilos, he was stronger than his mother, and you would never see anybody know that he was a calf or anything like that. In the last couple of months of his life, when he was starting to be ailing, he would go off and he would hide himself in the forest. Every time he did that, his mother would go and she would go and get him out of the forest, and she would bring him back to the herd, and there she would sit with him until he wandered off again, and she'd bring him back again. Because even though he was a full-grown 500-kilo steer, to her, he was still her baby. Well, when the day came, sorry, I thought I'd be able to talk about this in public now, but it's still fresh there. When the day came that we had to let him go, we did that with the mother there. She seemed to understand exactly what was going on. She knew that he was suffering and in pain, and he knew that it was the best thing for him. After we'd finished, she left her with her baby. She sat there with her baby and she licked his face for a little while. And then when we took him to our dispatch point where we need to take the carcasses away from the farm, she then went and she got the rest of the herd, and she brought the herd up to be with him for the night before he went off the next day. So what I want to earmark with this is we're going to learn a lot of stuff tonight, then we need to communicate that to people, we need to tell the stories of the animals that we see here. But let's always remember that dimension as well, that these are living, breathing, conscious, emotional creatures that really do have societies and families and really acknowledge each other and respect each other. And let's never ever forget that these aren't just creatures, these are actually families and social groups exactly like we are. And now I'm very excited to get off the stage so you can all go and see what you've come here to be. Thank you so very much.